In this lesson, we take a look at V-Ray Section Clipper, which allows to clip away geometries or part of the scene using a simple plane or a more complex object. And Section Clipper is a render time effect and does not modify the actual geometry in the scene. We have the same scene that we started our V-Ray proxy lesson with. In order to add a Section Clipper, in the Create panel, go to V-Ray and choose V-Ray Clipper and click once in the viewport. And now we have V-Ray Section Clipper in the scene. To make sure the render I have in the history list matches with current scene, let's change the wireframe color for the clipper to 28, 149, and 177. Now let's go to the perspective view. Try rotating the clipper so it sort of matches the direction of the dragon in the scene. Let's move it so it intersects with the dragon. Also, let's move the clipper up a bit so we can see its arrow, which specifies the direction of the clipper. The size of this plane does not matter, and everything behind it will stay visible in the render, and everything in front of it will be removed. And if I render the scene right now, the result would be render 01, and you can see everything behind the plane is still there and the rest of the scene is gone. In this case, we want to use the Section Clipper to clip away only the dragon object. So using the exclude button down here, we can change the mode to include and only include the dragon geometry. If I press OK and render again, you can see in render 02 the ground plane is still there and Section Clipper geometry only affects the dragon model. Select the Section Clipper and go to its parameters. We have enabled, which turns the effect on and off. We have effects light. When enabled, Section Clipper will clip away area light sources as well. We have camera rays only. When enabled, the clipper will affect objects as they are directly seen by the camera, but they will appear unchanged to reflection, refraction, GI rays. I have this sphere with a reflective material applied to it in the scene. Let's make it visible. Now if I render the scene with camera rays only disabled, as you can see in the frame buffer, the effect of the clipper geometry is visible on the reflective surface. But if I enable camera rays only and render the scene again, the effect of the clipper is not visible in the reflection and dragon appears to be unchanged. Let's hide the sphere for now and disable camera rays only. Clip lights geometry enables or disables the clipping of light geometries like mesh light. So if you have a mesh light in the scene and you don't want it to be clipped away, you can disable this option. Even though right now, because we excluded all the other geometries from getting affected by the clipper, whether this option is on or off wouldn't matter for the mesh light and it would have been visible. We have use object material, and if enabled, the material from the clipped away geometries will be applied to the holes or new geometries resulting from the Section Clipper. And if disabled, we can apply a specific material to the clipper and that material will be used. Right now, because we haven't applied any material to the Section Clipper, as we saw in the previous renders, the wireframe color had been used in those specific areas. If I enable use object material and render the scene again, the same subsurface scattering applied to the dragon is used for the geometries resulting from the Section Clipper. We have set material ID and material ID. Set material ID, when enabled, the user can specify a face material ID for the clipper object. You can then use this ID inside a multi-sub object material to specify a different filler material for different objects. And material ID obviously specifies the face material ID for the clipped surfaces when set material ID is enabled. So if I enable set material ID and set it to 2, I can go to my material editor and select the dragon in the Explorer, create a new multi-sub object material, use the current subsurface scattering material as the material for the polys with the ID set to 1. Copy the material, change the overall color here to 67, 65, and 55, and press OK, and use this material as the second material. Now you can apply the multi-sub object material to the dragon, and if we render the scene, the result would be render 06. And as you can see, we have 2 different materials applied to the dragon geometry based on the section clipper. We have this icon text, which shows or hides the V-Ray clipper icon text from the viewport. We have this mesh mode, and if you enable it, it allows you to use another mesh in the scene instead of the infinite plane to perform the clipping. So let's enable it. I have this box in the scene and it has a simple noise modifier applied to. Let's hide it here. If I get back to the clipper again, I can click on this pick mesh button and pick the box as the clipping geometry. Now if I render the scene, as you can see in render 07, we are using our box geometry to clip away part of the dragon object. And if I compare it to our previous renders, we get a lot more detail on those edges. Next we have operation, which determines how the mesh will be used. Subtraction clips away anything inside the specified mesh, only render objects and parts of objects that are outside of the specified mesh. And intersection clips away anything that is outside the specified mesh and only renders objects and parts of objects that are inside the specified mesh. In the first render, operation mode was set to subtraction, and in the second one it was set to intersection. So in this one, only the parts of the geometry that are inside the box are rendered. Let's set the operation to subtraction here. Replace mesh with clipper specifies what to do with the mesh that is picked through the pick mesh button. When enabled, the mesh is moved as a sub-object under the V-Ray clipper object, and the clipper takes the place of the mesh. If disabled, the clipper just references the picked mesh. For the final render, let's quickly go to the material editor, choose the second subsurface scattering material, and increase its value to something like 183, just a bit lighter color, and press OK. And here is our final render. Okay, in this lesson we learned about V-Ray section clipper, and I will see you in the next lesson.